Hey guys, it's Catherine from 85th and Pine, and today I'm going to be making this custom name puzzle. I've had a lot of requests for video tutorials on this, so I hope this helps you. And I used 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood for this, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the design process for this custom name puzzle, and I'm going to be doing it on Inkscape. So I have Inkscape up right now, and I'm just going to show you from start to finish what I usually do. So first of all, for my Glowforge, I have a basic model, so I can only print a puzzle that's up to about 19 inches in length, but usually I limit it to 18 inches. And 18 inches is pretty decent size for a puzzle, so I wouldn't even do too much more than that. Even if you have a pro, you could make it longer if you wanted to. But I'm going to first on Inkscape make this document size right here the length of my material that will be in my Glowforge, just to give me an idea of what it's going to look like. So first I'm going to go up to File. If you don't know how to do this, go to File and Document Properties to change this document size. And right here, I'm going to change it to inches, and I'm going to make the width of it, I'm just going to put 19 inches and 11.5 inches for the height. Then I'm going to X out of here. So now I have kind of a reference of what size template I have to print off of. So now to move on to the actual name puzzle, from scratch, all you have to do is go to the left-hand side over here to create a rectangle. And then just press down, hold. I'm just going to put it to that size and I'll extend it as I need to. I'm just going to put a no-fill color right here, so you don't need a fill color for that. But I'm going to make the stroke color down here, right-click the red, set stroke, because red is what I use for cutting references for my Glowforge. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and select it with my selection tool right here. I'm going to change the size to the size I want it to print at. So I'm going to go up to the toolbar up here, change this millimeters to inches, and I'm going to make the height of my puzzle 4.75. That's just the height that I personally have always used, and it works really well. You can change it to whatever you prefer. And then the width of my puzzle, it's going to be based off of how long your name is that you use. So if you have a 3-letter name, you're not going to need a long puzzle. But if you have a 9-letter name, it's going to be probably, up to 18 inches in length. So I'm going to use a name with 6 letters. So right now I'm just going to put it at 16 inches, and I'll extend it if I need to as I go. But the height is 4.75 always. That's just what I always personally use. Now, I don't want these sharp corners on the edges here, so I'm going to change that by going over to this node selection tool. And then as you can see, on the right-hand corner of this, there's a circle right here, and that's where you can drag it to make the corners rounded. So I'm just going to round them just as I see fit. We'll just put it right there, so it won't have any sharp corners. Now I'm going to go back to my selection tool right here just to select it. So now I have my base for my puzzle. We'll see if I need to extend the length or not as I put the name in. So I'm going to go ahead and put the name in by going to Add Text right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and put Elijah as my name just for an example, but I want this to be in a different font, so I'm going to go up to text up here, text and font, and I already have downloaded the font that I always use for name puzzles, and this is called Jelly. I believe it is free for commercial use. I think that's why I chose it, but you can choose whatever font you want. This is just one of the bubble fonts. As you can see, it's just thick and mostly all rounded, so there shouldn't be any, sharp corners or anything like that. So you can choose whichever font you want. If you want to go online at just Google free fonts or free fonts for commercial use and you can browse through there. But Jelly is the one that I personally like. Okay, so I need to make this bigger. I'm going to select it by going to my selection tool. And I'm going to drag the corners just to make it as big as I want it to be. So I'm just going to start with that and see what it looks like. I don't want it all the way to the edges just because I want some space in between the edges and the name. But I'm going to actually make it a little bit smaller. So as you can see, there's a space between the top and the bottom under the name and above the name. That's what I want. I don't want there to be too small of a space. So I'm going to leave it about right there. And I'm going to go ahead and make this puzzle smaller. Maybe I'll make it just a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm going to make this board smaller just by selecting the board and dragging it to where I want it. We're going to go about right there. So now I'm going to center it. So I'm going to keep this selected, hold down my shift button, select my name, go up to Object, Align and Distribute, center on vertical axis, and center on horizontal axis. So it's all centered together. Okay, so that's pretty much where I want it. I think it looks good enough right there. Now I need to edit this name by selecting it and going to Path and Object to Path to create a path with it so that it will print properly. So now it should print as you need it to, but I'm going to select a no fill color. So go to the bottom left hand corner and select X. Now go to the red or whatever color you use for cutting and right click Set Stroke. I'm just going to select everything to make all the strokes the same size. So I just drag my cursor and selected everything. Go up to Object, Fill and Stroke. Then I'm going to go to Stroke Style right here. And I usually select millimeters. It doesn't truly matter what you select, that's just what I use. So now I'm going to just increase it so it's all the same stroke size. That's good enough. Okay. All right, so as you can see, it's pretty much done with that, but now I'm going to need the piece for the back of the puzzle. So I'm going to copy and paste this piece of the board. Control C, Control V if you do it on your keyboard. And just drag it down. And this is how it's going to print on my Glowforge. As you can see, like I said before in the beginning, this document size is about the size of the material I would be using. So it fits perfectly fine. It turned out to be only 14 inches in length, which is a good size. And if you want to see the individual letters, what size they are, you can ungroup the name, which I already did on my keyboard, but you can go to Object and ungroup when you select it. And you could just look at the size of the letters if you need to, which they're not too bad. I would recommend being around 2.5 inches to 3 inches even, but obviously that's going to change if you're going to make a longer name. The letters are going to be smaller, but just not too small where, you know, kids can swallow them, obviously. So this is pretty much all done. I'm going to go ahead and save it to my computer and upload it to my Glowforge app, and I'll show you the printing process and the assembly process, and we will go from there. So now I'm on my Glowforge app. I already uploaded it to Glowforge, and I just did that by going to Import Artwork and Upload right here, and wherever you save it on your computer is where you select it. So I have it placed where I want it on my board right here. It's 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood that I'll be using. And over here to the unknown tab, since I'm using something other than proof grade materials, I have to select use uncertified material. and my material thickness is about 0.25 inches, but make sure yours is similar. If not, you might have to adjust it from here. So once that is selected, then I went ahead and clicked on my puzzle icon over here, and I have a setting for this material, 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood. I have it at 128 speed, full power, 1 pass, and 0.11 focus height. This sometimes doesn't cut all the way through in certain areas, so you may have to adjust the settings, but you can try it at this point, and if you need to adjust it, just adjust it accordingly. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit my print button, and we will go ahead and send it to the Glowforge. Okay, so as you can see, I have all my pieces here. I already removed the masking tape off of everything, and this particular wood is pretty smooth as it is, so I'm not gonna sand it. If you have some wood that's a little bit rougher, you might need to pick up some sanding sheets. You can get them at Home Depot or online, but I'm not gonna need to sand mine. Also, another option, the edges of the wood are obviously burnt, so there may be some residue that you could wipe off with a damp cloth if you need to, all the edges of each piece. So now I'm just going to go ahead and glue my top piece and my back piece to make the puzzle formed. And I'm going to be using Gorilla wood glue for that, and some clamps. So now I'm going to go ahead and paint each letter. This has 6 letters in it, so I'm just going to do the colors of the rainbow. You can obviously do whatever colors you want. I recommend doing non-toxic acrylic paint for this. Now I'm finished painting. I did have to do a couple coats of paint on the letters, so just be aware of that. And you can also use a non-toxic sealer on the top of the paint. And I would recommend Waverly Wax. It's non-toxic, and you can either brush it on with a paintbrush or you can rub it on with a cloth. And as you can see, this is nice and sealed together. So now it's ready to put in the letters. Alright, thanks for watching. Like I said, I hope that was helpful, and if you have questions, let me know. And if you're interested in buying your own Glowforge, please feel free to use my referral code that's listed in the description box below on where you can get money off. Plus, my family and I would get credits too, which we would truly, truly appreciate. And thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.